Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Do you live in a neighborhood of psychopaths, OP? Don't feel you're in the wrong. That's 100% not on you. And honestly, I'd try to get them towed as soon as they block the driveway after the note. That's not just inconsiderate, that's being a bad person. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. After a few warnings, I got the police involved. Long story short, moved into a house across the street from a school in May, had no issues, beginning of the school year, had the same car block my driveway for 2 weeks. We could barely get our oversized vehicles into the small, narrow driveway with the car parked there. There's also a no parking 7:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. sign right there also. I called front lobby to ask them to move. Next day, I asked a worker to ask them to move. Following day, they were there again around 2:45 p.m. So I left a nice note explaining my husband works rotating shifts and he's notorious for backing into things, and I don't want their vehicle to end up being hit at some point, and if they could please park 5 feet behind where they're parking now. The very next day, the car was in the middle of the road, parked, and traffic could barely get by. Mind you, we have to deal with a car rider line as well as this specific car parking in front of our driveway. So I posted on our private Facebook group asking if anyone else had this issue, and if so, what did they do? And before anyone suggests it, I did not want the car towed or them to get in any trouble. That was at 3 p.m. Gave no description of car. 3:45 p.m., the principal told me to call her directly, then had me walk out to explain what the issue is, and then proceeded to scold me and essentially told me to shove it, that she didn't want them parking in the parking lot, and I couldn't have them towed. I explained, no, I didn't want them towed. I just wanted 5 feet to be able to not have to Jenga my way into my driveway. 6 p.m., I'm cussed out by a teacher and told I have no consideration for teachers and what they do. I have kids. I'm also a teacher at another school and would never park in front of someone's driveway and tell that person to deal with it because previous owners allowed it. Also, the previous owners I knew, and they didn't mind because they were not home during the time the car parks there. I also have been home on maternity leave since school started, had a C-section a week after school started, and twisting and turning to get a better view has been hard. She then called me insane and unstable and blocked me after calling me a liar and that I never left a note. I'm scared for my safety. I go by the Nest security system and it's been 2 months. No other cars park in front of my driveway more than a day. Nothing is consistent, so I don't do anything. Until Friday, the same car parked in front of my driveway again. I pull in today, and with tons of parking spaces in the parking lot and tons of space on the illegal street behind her, but she had to park in front of my driveway. I irrationally called the non-emergency line and reported cars park on this street during the no parking hours every single day. Then a cop showed up and wrote a warning. I saw and quickly pulled my car into the garage. Now people are outside taking pictures of my house and driveway and screaming on the phone about it. I was mad that they got away with cussing me out, and my husband thinks I may have been a little irrational, but it was my decision and he'll stand by it. And our second story. Waste my time? I'll waste yours. Background. The store I worked for was a large, everything under one roof type place that's known for attracting the trashiest of people who put on the most shameless of displays. I worked in one of those stores that earned said reputation. Now, the customer service policy was detailed and long and mostly not followed for small, less than $1 differences. It wasn't worth it. Not when half the folks at the customer service desk were there to get cash refunds for items bought with debit cards they don't own. The cast. Karen, self-important, snobby, 2 kids, overly full grocery cart, the works. Me, the lowly, lazy cashier who's just trying to keep Karen from living her life. Greg, one of the only managers I've never wanted to walk out on. The story. It's a busy day, but we're not slammed or anything. With 3 cashiers and a correct number of managers working the front end of the store, we're properly staffed, and so far no trashy people have made their way through the customer service center. It's a nice, good workflow. Enter Karen. She's got her receipt and her items in hand, and she has a problem with 2 of them. One was a set of curtains that was a penny more expensive, and the other, and this one's important, was a microwave. She claimed the microwave rang up for $44.44, that's true, when it was supposed to be $39. Now, policy is that for any price changes, we had to make sure the item was genuinely more expensive than its matching price tag in order to make a change. None of that, it was sitting above the totally different item's price tag, so that's what it's supposed to cost nonsense. The way we did this was by finding the item on the shelves and checking it ourselves. So I tell Karen this, but she doesn't quite let me finish. Instead, Karen wants to show me the picture on her phone, which is of the price tag. This wasn't going to work for various reasons. Without finding that tag on the shelves, it could have come from a different store and therefore the price would be wrong. That tag may not actually go with that item. This particular price tag was not the regular small price tag that sat below the items on the regular shelves, which had the item's name on the computer. It's price per unit and the total price. No, this was a large sign from a display, so it only had the total price. I couldn't see any of the items underneath this large price tag, which means that I had no idea what the tag was even for. So I tell Karen that I have to go myself. She's arguing with me, trying to tell me that it isn't necessary, yada, yada, effing yada. It's worth noting that as a fairly tall person with a sense of urgency and a long stride, by the time she really pissed me off, I could have been almost done with the price check, but I digress. I kept saying I have to go check this for myself, and then she hit me with her most Karen statement yet. I know you get paid hourly, but I want to go home, so can you just discount it? I'm not sure if she meant I was taking too long or that I was being too much of a stickler for rules for a customer service job or what. Either way, I was real GD pissed because the person draining all her time was in fact Karen. Needless to say, the answer was no, and I left to go find those microwaves. Well, I find the display. On the long sides of the display were the price tag in question, but below it were toaster ovens for $39. On the short sides of the display were the microwaves in question, but above that was a price tag for $59. Interesting. So I walked my salty butt back up behind the counter and explained why I wouldn't be discounting that price for her that day. She wasn't happy. Her argument was that since the microwaves didn't ring up right, I still had to discount them to $39 for her, despite the fact that she actually got them for a full $14 cheaper than what she actually expected to pay for them. And again, the $39 price tag was unrelated. So I followed the rules and told her I could raise the price to $59, but not lower it to $39. She demands to speak with the manager. Over strolls Greg, who was, up until this moment, also getting crap done. Karen tries to apply her backwards logic on Greg, but Greg ain't having that crap, and he backs me up when I tell him what I told her. If she really wanted us to, we could raise the price so that the tag on the display and the tag on her receipt said the same thing. After a bit more hemming and hawing, she eventually has me return the item, mumbling the whole time about how awful we are. Remember those curtains? I forgot to check for them while I was over in that part of the store, so I finished with the microwave and she's ready to go. She's pouty and defeated and she's short a microwave and whatnot. There was a pause where I would have just gone on and did the second discount, no checks required. And then I said, hey, I have to do a price check for these curtains. No, you don't have to do that. You can just, sorry, but I need to follow policy. I was prepared for her arguing this time and was already out of the center before she could respond. So because she tried to be a B word before she got what she wanted from me, she had to wait for me to do a full second transaction, complete with a second walk, that I took my sweet butt time doing, back to that area of the store. I got there, slowly confirmed that those curtains were indeed a penny cheaper, and then strolled right on back to get her itty-bitty price change started. When she finally left, she'd been there for maybe 30 minutes longer than she had to be, and only saved herself 2 cents, one per curtain, but lost $14, her decent mood, her kids' decent moods, and a microwave. But man, did it feel like forever. Greg and I had a good laugh about it after the fact, too. I love it when you don't have to break any rules to serve Karens a heapin' helpin' of justice. And our last story. Officer and judge forbid me to use my own land, then they lose their jobs. Happened 6 years ago in my new town in the leafy suburb of Happy Valley. In June 2010, I closed on my downsize house in the town next to where I've been living most of my life. 2 kids were gone and the other 2 were on their way to jobs and careers. Wifey Pooh and I bought the final house for working and then our retirement. Things were good. Within 2 weeks of closing, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer and my knee broke down and required a replacement. I was walking with a cane, especially when doing stairs. I took to driving my car around the back of my house because the back steps were only 2 instead of the 4 steps in the front. Almost immediately, the code enforcement officer got on my case. The town had a new no parking rule over dirt. Cars needed to be parked over an imperious substance like blacktop or stone. Environmental reasons and social justice warriors on the town council had passed this local law recently at the urging of the old fat mayor. The code enforcement guy ticketed me after a couple of warnings. I'd continued to park near my back door on the dirt. He'd been in construction and was out of a job and friends with the fat mayor. I postponed the court date until after both surgeries, prostate removal and knee replacement, had happened. Appeared before the local magistrate, judge, pleaded not guilty. The local prosecutor tried the case pretty well. For a first-time offense, the code enforcement officer told of his work in spotting me parking in my own backyard multiple times. The judge bought it and fined me $1,000, first-time offense. I appealed and had to pay $400 for the court transcript. Unfortunately for the judge and the code enforcement officer, a different party won the mayor and council majority, and the new thin mayor didn't care for the judge nor the code enforcement officer. Nor did the mayor think it was funny when I handed him the court transcript. He agreed it was overkill. I mostly won on appeal. Fine reduced to $250. The county appeal judge said he had a handicap sticker on his car. Would I please apply for a doctor's letter and show it to the local police chief? Yes, this happened. Now I could legally park any place in my yard without recourse from the town. Pro-revenge part. Oh yes, the judge and the code enforcement officer. The judge lost his appointment. The thin mayor didn't like him. The judge subsequently ran for mayor on a third-party line and came in last. The code enforcement officer was downsized in short order and soon unemployed and without the town pickup truck he drove. He'd been in construction most of his life and there was no work available at this time, so the town job had been a godsend. NB. In my experience, when people do bad things to one person, they usually do it to more than one person, so I was just a major push in helping 2 town officials lose their jobs. Thank you, Mr. Thin Mayor. Plus, it's good to complain about bad government service to the highest local authority. Been parking in my backyard near my back door for 6 years. Like the convenience. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.